So the themes for today's sermon will be repentance, faith, and consequences of sin. And if anyone can open the Bible to the first lesson and read the first two verses of the first lesson.
After the death of Joshua,
Lord, the Israelites asked the Lord, "Who of us is to go up first to fight against the Canaanites?"
Yes.
The Lord answered, "Judah shall go up. I have given the lands into their hands."
Thank you. I just want to point out that from now on, we're going to have to pay attention to the fact that the land was allotted to Judah and his descendants. So the descendants of Judah, the sons of Jacob. And can you keep moving, please? Verse 3.
The men of Judah then said unto the Simeonites, their fellow Israelites, "Come up with us into the territory allotted to us, to fight against the Canaanites. We in turn will go with you into yours."
Thank you. Chorus, please. In verse 3, the descendants of Judah, requested the help of the Simeonites to get the land which was allotted to them by God. With or without the help of the Simeonites, they could have gotten this land that was allotted to them by God. They just didn't have as much faith as was required. And we see that in verse 4. Let's continue.
When Judah attacked, the Lord gave the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hands, and they struck down 10,000 men at Bezek.
But since Simeonites and Judah were to combine forces, the God that we serve doesn't like to be doesn't need our help. He doesn't need our support. When He has promised us something, He was going to grant it to us. So, but since they had combined forces, He had to raise up the obstacles. He had to make sure it wasn't just the Canaanites that were going to be fighting. The Canaanites had to combine forces with the Perizzites and to make it equal on both sides, and for God's power to show. He had to up the stakes. You can decide to assist God. If God says it is time, and you say no, and you request help, it doesn't really matter. It's still going to happen. Just most likely the obstacles would raise as well. It is needed to show that even with the help, it is still the same battle and things are balanced out. God has plans. God has no plans to promise you something and give it to you. Not especially since He promised it. What issues are you going through now? And you believe you need the help of 7 prophets every Sunday. As long as you believe in God and you follow His commandments, His promises will come to pass in your life.
Amen.
This should be big in our hearts. Do not get me wrong though. If you need help, seek it out. It's just that if it is promised, you don't need to. Just follow the commandments of God. So back to the verse 2. The land which was for Judah and of son was promised a long time ago. Can someone open Genesis 49:8?
Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies.
Your father's sons will bow down to you. You are a lion's cub, Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion he crouches and lies down, like a lioness who dares to rouse him. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his. He will tether his donkey to a vine, his coat to the choicest branch. He will wash his garments in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk.
Thank you very much. So, if you didn't understand the first time, once God has made His promise, it comes to light, no matter what you do, unless you turn around and you decide not to worship Him anymore. We are also aware of Abraham's promise and the promises of Joseph the dreams of Jacob, all accounts of God's promises, and the fact that He's always going to make whatever He promised come to pass. And moving on to, can someone please go back to the first lesson? We're going to talk a little bit about the consequences of sin. This is verse 5.
It was there that they found Adoni-Bezek and fought against him, putting to rout the Canaanites and the Perizzites.
Verse 6.
Adoni-Bezek fled, but they chased him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and big toes.
Keep moving.
Then Adoni-Bezek said, 70 kings, with their thumbs and their big toes cut off, have picked up scraps under my table.
Pause. So clearly you see here, Adoni-Bezek is not some pushover king. They didn't just walk over there and get him. Adoni-Bezek has his own title. He has his own ambitions. He has killed over 70 kings and made them beg under his table for scraps, for food. He has made a mockery of although these kings may not have worshipped God, he had done all sorts of evil to men of his kind. And as we see, the evil he had brought up upon other men came back to haunt him in the end. In verse 5, in verse 8, can you keep reading, please?
The men of Judah attacked Jerusalem and also took it. They put the city and the sword. They put the city to the sword and set it on fire.
Apologies, please. Can you go back to verse 7? There's something I have to mention there.
From the beginning?
Yes.
Then Adoni-Bezek said, 70 kings, with their thumbs and big toes cut off, have picked up scraps under my table. Now God has paid me back for what I did to them. They brought him to Jerusalem, and he died there.
Thank you. So as we notice here, even Adoni-Bezek, whether or not he's a worshiper of God, acknowledges the existence of God. And his toes, his thumbs were cut. So whether or not you're a Christian, you're born again, you're acclaimed unrepentant, whatever you do will always come back. Everything you do will always come back, especially evil. We all know about Simon Peter and how he ended up after denying Jesus Christ. He was crucified upside down. We're all aware of Jesus' love for him. He went as far as, can someone open Matthew 16:18?
And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock
I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it.
Thank you. So it's clear that even Peter, no matter how much of a favorite it was of Jesus Christ, when he did something wrong, he had to be punished, and severely was he punished. We also know about David and how he wrote a bunch of psalms anytime he committed sins. But his biggest downfall was killing another woman's husband to be with the woman. But in the end, God made sure the sword never departed from his house. So, and one more example, Paul, a formerly dedicated persecutor of Christians, upon his conversion, was blinded immediately. And that was just the first taste of his consequence of his sins. Then after he got blinded and he somehow got his sight back, he went around and was a missionary for Christ. Upon his last mission, he was arrested, went in a shipwreck, was arrested again, and spent the rest of his life arrested. So anything you do, I don't know, any evil whatsoever, no matter how small, you might call it little sins there and there, it always comes back, either now or sometime later in life. So it is better to suffer on earth than to lose the eternal salvation. This suffering is here as a result of the sins we've committed. And sometimes essential sins as well. Some sins you don't know about, some from previous generations, but just make sure you keep your eye on the goal. Lazarus in the parable of the rich man probably wasn't even suffering from his own sins. But we all know how that turned out. In the book of Judges, the entire book talks about a book of revolutionaries expected to take upon the call of God, lead the people out of oppression against foreign rulers. But every time they messed up, the judges left and they went back to worshiping false gods. They had to start up again. So every time the Israelites lose their way before the arrival of a judge, God punishes them with years of oppression and marginalization. Till they were repentant and they changed their ways. Step by step, the judges come in and they have to fight all over from scratch. How to fight for the promises God had given to them because of the sins they committed. Can we move over to the second lesson, please?
And to the angel of the church of Sardis write.
To the angel of the church in Sardis write, these things said he that has 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. I know thy works, that thou hast a name, that thou hast livest and art dead.
Thank you.
Watchful.
Thank you. Can you pause, please? So this is a message to all the churches and all the Christians of all the world. The ones that believe they've attained perfection and no longer need to move up. And the ones that have deceived themselves so thoroughly that they think that if they die now, they're going to be going to heaven. Can you keep please reading to verse 2?
Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain, that are ready to die. For I have not found thy works perfect before God. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come unto thee.
Thank you. So we all have to remember that what we have learned all these years of coming to church, that attendance of church is just one phase of being a Christian. If you were to die today, what will happen? How can you use all those messages you've gained in all your attendance in church to better yourselves? Your personal apocalypse comes before, in the form of death, before the rapture of the earth. Anyone can see the irony of me giving this message right now. I'm supposed to be a youth. I'm not supposed to talk about death and all that. But a youth reminding us that even with the Affordable Care Act or the Trump Care Act, we can live at any time, on any day, any age, in any condition. We all think we're safe because we use probably the safest, okay, no, you don't. We do it in New York though. But we all think we're safe because we're in a first world country, we're doing all these things safely, and we almost forget the evil that exists in the world. We're so comfortable and we think we can do everything without God. But then, if only, you've opened your eyes and you've seen a little bit of evil. Some people here have seen that. I know they have. In verse 4, he says, can you keep reading, please?
Thou hast a few names even in Sardis, which have not defiled their garments. And they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy.
Thank you. So everyone, at least almost everyone in here is wearing white. We have mirrored the look of these people in heaven. But are we worthy of wearing the white that we're wearing today? Are we going to wear the white when it's time? When it really matters, are we going to be wearing that white? A lot of us are completely forgetting why we wear white and more interested in the colors that cover it up. We've made the reason we wear the ranks, and we've made the reason we wear the ranks to avoid and match exactly the reasons we don't wear them, which were against pride and self-exaltation. We have become blinded by absolute nonsense. We're willing to forgo everything for human respect and seniority. With these titles come responsibilities and a new understanding of being a celestial, but definitely not a guarantee to salvation, but a step in that direction and nothing more. In verse 5, can you please read it, please?
He that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment, and I will not blot out his name out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels.
Thank you. Every one of us that is willing to overcome and, I don't know, understand that we're not perfect and change. Your name shall be written in the book of life.
Amen.